Hello everyone and welcome to Don't Be Bored. Today on Tabletop Tea Time I'm going to be talking about asymmetrical games, and of course I'm joined by creators. This time I'm joined by Evan, who's going to be talking about a game you've probably never heard of. I have heard of this one though, Evan. I just haven't played it. Anyway, let's pass over to him.
Hey everybody, I'm Evan, and today I'm going to show you a game that you have probably never heard of. Bear with me today. I have a bit of a cold. And speaking of cold, the game I'm going to talk about is called The Arctic. This is a two-player head-to-head abstract game where it's penguins versus polar bears. Let's go down to the table and I'll show you how it works. Okay, here we go. This is The Arctic. This is what it would look like set up. There's a penguin side and a polar bear side. The penguin player has more pieces, as you can see, and the polar bear only has 4. And they go on these little designated spaces on each side of the board. The game also comes with some cards. Each player starts with a walk card, which has a movement pattern on it. Then the rest of the 12 cards are distributed evenly between the players. Now, once each player gets these cards, the polar bear player chooses 3 out of the 6 and puts the other 3 back in the box. Then the penguin player chooses 3 cards and then gives the other 3 cards to the polar bear player. So the penguin player will end up with 4 cards total, and the polar bear player will end up with 7 cards total. And these are all movement cards or special ability cards. They'll either show a movement pattern or they will show have like a special ability, such as before moving you can move a pawn twice, but that causes you not to be able to attack. There's movement patterns like this where you can jump in a certain pattern. This special ability card shows you can, if you ever move in between 2 of the opposing pawns, then both of those are eliminated. So the idea is the penguin either needs to get down to 1 polar bear remaining, or the polar bear person needs to get down to 2 penguins remaining, or make it to the other side of the person's board. And then whenever you would move into a space containing another person's pawn, that pawn is eliminated. Pretty simple, right? But as you can see, some of these movement cards are very unusual. And this is all you get for the entire game. Like moving side to side, or moving until you hit another pawn, or things like that. But it's pretty simple, so let's go back up to the top, and I'll tell you what I think about it. And there you have it. There's The Arctic. As you can see, it's a bit Onitama-ish, but not quite. To the fact that there is more cards, and you don't lose those cards when you use them. Would I play this over Onitama? I really don't think so. The time on the box says 30 minutes, but I don't know. I think if you get the right combination of cards, or you have a bad combination of cards, the game can end super quickly. So I guess the key to the game is drafting the right cards and making sure you don't give the wrong cards to your opponent. I feel like that kind of strategy would require a lot of plays to understand the nuances between the movement cards and the special ability cards. And honestly, for this game, I don't know how many repeated plays you're actually gonna want to do. I would definitely pick Onitama over this. However, it is super cute because it is an Uchibakoya production. And it is fun for what it is. It's just, it is what it is, right? So the question is, where do I find this game? Second-hand copies are available on places like Noble Knight or Board Game Geek. However, they are quite pricey. And the reason for that is because it also comes with instructions and cards to use this as an Aqua Garden expansion. So I would imagine people are probably trying to track it down for that reason. So yes, you can have the polar bears or the penguins in your game of Aqua Garden, which is pretty cool. Which is a pretty cool like expansion, right? Because who wouldn't want that in Aqua Garden? So yeah, I guess that wraps it up this week. Maybe a little bit of a shorter episode this week, but that's okay. We'll be back next month, and in the meantime, enjoy your tea. Bye, everybody.
So, asymmetry. There's two ways I think about this. The first one comes from a grand space opera style game like Twilight Imperium 4. This has a variety of factions and each player can take control of one of them across an 8-hour sprawling game of smashing plastic forces together and so much more. There's political negotiations, there's trade, and there's capturing and holding of planets and wormholes and all that sort of goodness. But what makes that game good is not everyone is as good or as bad at different things. My power, well, maybe I'm like the Space Lions and I can trade with anyone around the table. That might not seem as good as, say, someone else that gets a technology at the start, allowing them to build a huge, massive war-sun ship. But actually, being able to trade a lot more means I've got more resources to buy more stuff, to do more trades, and, well, maybe I can trade and win that way. Another one, maybe I get more dudes every time I sort of produce them from my factory and different things like that, and it just means every single one is different. There is so much asymmetry built in. In fact, there's no way, unlike some games where it's everyone has the same and then you flip over to an advanced side. No, in that game everyone is always going to be different. Some are a little harder to play, and the rulebook advises like start with these ones and then shuffle these ones in, because all of a sudden this race, for instance, maybe they can't actually research technology, which is a huge part of the game. They have to get it by sort of effectively copying from other players. That's very different, but a very cool thing that only you can do. Now, the other way is in a game like Mindbug. Much smaller box. In fact, you need one of the packs, which is probably about only this size of this box, but you can pick up a variety of decks of this. And the asymmetry in this comes from what your decks look like, because you take one pack of cards, you shuffle them up, and you deal them out so many to each player from that one deck. So the cards I've got are going to be very different from the cards you've got, and then you just start playing. Now, what makes the asymmetry in this one work, because sometimes you have to, I find, worry maybe a little bit about balance of asymmetry. What makes Mindbug's asymmetry work is if your deck has loads of good creatures in and mine has loads of bad ones, you can use the Mindbugs. In this, you have two attempts, basically, two Mindbugs, to be like, when your opponent plays a card, you can just say, Mindbug, I'm having that, not you. And that's an insanely cool and very different way of balancing asymmetry. A lot of people find that it's like you have to be good at something, bad at something else, in like a giant rock, paper, scissor, maybe with like 10 options. But the idea of you're good at something, bad at something else, and that's how the factions in asymmetry work. But I like how Mindbug does something a little bit different. It goes, yeah, your opponent might just have better stuff in their hand. You might have bad stuff. But it doesn't matter, because here's like a massive veto opportunity to go, that looks way too good for you to have, I think I'll have that. Now, of course, if you've got two very balanced decks, and I've got good and bad creatures, they've got good and bad creatures, the Mindbug opportunity still works, but I just think it's a really cool and different way that not many asymmetrical games try for, where it's just like, wow, that seems so strong, I'm going to stop you having it and I'll have it instead, thank you. I wonder if there's bigger games that could use that sort of Mindbug system to sort of balance asymmetry, because it feels fun. And that's very two different ends of an asymmetrical sort of spectrum, one where, you know, there's predefined things, and one where it is fluctuating throughout, and, you know, you almost self-balance, which is quite cool for asymmetry. But let me know in the comment section below what asymmetrical game or style you like the best. And of course, while you're going down there, I'll have links in the description box to say our Evan's channel, so you can go and check that out. Subscribe over there, subscribe over here as well. And well, until next time, I hope you've enjoyed your tabletop tea time and have an excellent month gaming.